Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Skip Everling here at Kolena. This is going to be a concise webinar here for you. Hopefully, we get to show you what you're looking for. And the idea is we're going to show you how you can transform lease and rent roll automation into a process that takes just a few minutes. So this whole webinar, this demo is going to be pretty concise, going to wrap everything up in about 30 minutes. And everything's going to be no code required and something that you can implement in your workflows. So thanks for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and get started now. Just a quick word about Kolena. We are the AI quality company. We work with businesses of all sizes. Some of the customers that we have are listed here. We're very happy to be working with some of these big enterprises as well as some smaller organizations, companies of all different stripes, helping them implement AI solutions. We also just recently had our AI quality conference, actually just from last year that you're seeing this photo here. We had a lot of great participation from our technology partners, some regulatory partners. There's a lot of great content talks if you're curious about AI and AI automation and potential for business in general. Check out aiqualityconference.com, or you can look for Kolena on YouTube. We have quite a lot of content up there, including past webinars, including several about real estate. But without further ado, let's take a look at today's agenda. So what I want to go through with you today is talking about how dramatically AI agents are accelerating these real estate workflows. That's because they can be tailor-made to automate these meticulous workflows. And then we're going to go through some demos. Sorry, there's a field missing here, but we're going to go through a lease abstraction demo. So talking about turning these contractual documents that some of you are probably dealing with on a regular basis into custom abstracts. And we're going to go through the whole process end to end here in just a few minutes. And then I'll give you a rent roll processing demo. It'll be very similar, where we'll go through processing some rent roll information, and those can be also combined together into a single agent. So just to frame the problem here, I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, but manual review is a big bottleneck for efficiency for real estate operations. And to break that down, I pulled up some statistics and I provided some citations here if you're curious to find this out for yourself, but you may already be experiencing this firsthand. But the main idea here is manual lease abstraction. It can eat up several hours per lease, particularly for complex leases. The statistic here is up to 3 to 4 hours on average per lease. Real world ranges stretch from 2 to 8 hours, and that cost, if you were to put that into dollar terms, might be over $100 per lease. When you're dealing with complex documents that take a lot of human time, basically, you're paying for a lot of human effort to manually go line by line, item by item, clause by clause through a document. And these finance and real estate teams are spending a majority of their time collecting and administering data versus 25% doing the higher value analysis work after the processing is done. And that's where the real value is. The processing, the collecting, and the administering is a necessary step, but it's not really where any value is being added. It's more about transforming the structure and getting structure out of unstructured information that might be in arbitrarily formatted documents or strangely formatted spreadsheets or whatever this data is coming in as. You don't have control over that. You have to spend time standardizing that into a format that you can really use. So the impact is slower underwriting. You have delayed closings. You have rising headcount just to keep pace. You're paying a lot to people to try and move this process along faster, and that only scales linearly with the amount that you're willing to spend. So it doesn't scale well when you really want to move fast, and it's ultimately a big disadvantage, particularly against firms that are using automation. Uh, Existing automation solutions they don't cut it anymore, and they really don't compare to AI. And the reason is, if we're looking at OCR tools, that means optical character recognition. This is the ability to look at text in, say, a document or a picture and read out the letters, the individual characters. That technology has been around in some form for a while. It's quite a bit different quite a bit more powerful with AI, but that basic just extracting the letters without any contextual understanding, that's been around for a while. But there's a tendency for that previous technology, which some of you might be already using, to misread complex tables or to mistranscribe something because it doesn't have the contextual understanding. It doesn't understand that a particular word would fit better here because of the words around it. It just looks at what it can see, the shape of the letter. And if, especially if it's a handwritten document, it can easily get that wrong. It often does. And that requires costly human QA. So you're again waiting and paying for human review or doing it yourself, which is taking you away from higher value work. Template automation, it touches only about 20% of unstructured data, meaning it just can't handle anything that's outside of its narrow range of what it has been built for. And bots that you might build through rules and this previous automation technology, they tend to break because things change. And so every 9 to 18 months, according to this statistic here, the bot will break because some rule doesn't match the way that the information looks anymore. And that means somebody has to go in and manually start to adjust all of this. And because of the previous the pre-AI automation, it didn't really have the flexibility to adapt to those changes on its own. And those bot break fix cycles burn a huge amount of budget. And particularly for this pre-AI type automation. And even after that type of automation, this report from Blueprint says brokers are still logging 4 to 8 hours per lease just to finish the job. And so even though there has been automation in the process, you may already have some products that you're using, some or teams that you have built automation solutions for you. There's still a lot left unautomated for this pre-AI automation technology. But all this is leading up to say that these things have changed with the new AI paradigm. Things are much more adaptable, flexible, easy to use, more powerful with AI. And this is what Kolena is enabling for real estate professionals. The paradigm here, what we allow you to do is you drop in documents instead of having to create code type rules. You provide natural language instructions. I'm typing plain English here, but it could be any language, to be honest. Each of those prompts becomes kind of like a live data field. You don't have to worry about a rigid template breaking. You don't have to be writing code to be extracting information or creating rules. And these AI agents that are following these natural language instructions have a huge time savings per lease, um, uh, 70% to up to 99% in some cases, and a huge amount of labor saved per lease. And so, especially if you're dealing with a lot of leases, this can be massive cost savings, massive cost savings. And then you can spend that money on something else to scale up your workforce in another way or to do whatever. I've found an example of an 85-page rent roll, so a very lengthy rent roll that was processed in less than 5 minutes versus 10 hours for the manual process. And that actually comes out to a little over a 99% reduction. So massive reduction for these particularly lengthy documents that would otherwise be quite onerous and also error prone. When you're dealing with that much data, there's a good chance that a human has made an error somewhere, just inadvertently, or because they got tired, or because it was boring, or because their brain was overloaded. All very natural human things. But AI has the capability to it has the superpower of not having those drawbacks. And so manual abstraction can swallow up to 80% of an analyst day. Kolena, the idea with these agents is that we're flipping that back to value add work. We're going from the manual process to the value add process. So I don't want to spend too much longer on this. Just a couple more slides, and then I'm going to show you a use case demo. But for anybody that doesn't know what I mean when I say AI agent, just briefly, you can think of them as these next generation autonomous systems. These are intelligent workers. So they combine these foundational AI models from companies like OpenAI and Anthropic or Google, combining that with memory systems. So the documents like your leases your rent rolls. And unlike just a chatbot interface, these things are able to call tools like mathematical operations, or to even search the web, or to do research and apply intelligence on top of this data using these underlying AI models. And what Kolena is essentially, you can think of it as the middle here, this AI processing layer where your agents live. You have complex documents coming in from wherever you have them. Could be your property management system, for example. You will have agents living on Kolena. These agents will be running your natural language instructions every time something new gets dropped in, or something, anytime something appears in wherever you have your data living. And then you'll get a result, which is of whatever format you want. You can create a report, you can create lease abstract summaries, you can create rent roll summaries, for example, of whatever format, whatever structure, whatever information is relevant to your particular process, completely customized. So what I'm going to show you is effectively building an agent, this middle step here. I'm going to be dropping in just some example documents, and I'm going to show you the result. And the middle here is the agents that we're building. Cool. So without further ado, let me show you building a demo here. I'm going to jump over to the Kolena platform. This is effectively the homepage where we'll create a new agent. I'm just going to click Create New Agent. Here we would provide natural language instructions for whatever we want. For example, here it shows if we were extracting information from invoices. In this case, I'm going to show you a lease abstraction demo, and we actually already have a little template here. So the instruction is going to become draft lease abstractions for commercial real estate. I'm going to go ahead and click that. This is the agent creation screen. All we have to do when we're building an agent is provide an example, meaning give a document. And then with that document, we'll say, okay, I want you to extract these type of things. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this office lease that I prepared ahead of time. I'll go ahead and click Submit. As soon as that's in, Kolena processes it behind the scenes. Let me go ahead and drag this over so you can see what I'm looking at. This is just an example of a lease. You can see that it's, a air CRE, and there are quite a few clauses. This formatting is arbitrary. Obviously, not every lease will look like that, and that's no problem. I could have dropped in anything here. This is all new to Kolena. This is effectively the first time this agent is seeing it. And right away, what we can do is just start asking for information. We're calling extractions here. So I want to know, like, just for example, just as a very basic thing, who's the lessee? Obviously, we can see that right here. The lessee is Koala AI.Inc. or comma Incorporated. And what we'll see here is that that's extracted that information. Great. What Kolena does is it will provide the reasoning. So we can see here how it got that information. The lease agreement clearly identifies the lessee in section 1.1, and it will provide a citation, meaning this is the document that it pulled it from. So if we were working with multiple documents, in this case, I just uploaded one document. It actually includes an amendment, an addendum, excuse me, but it's actually still part of the same file. But we could have dropped that in as a separate PDF. That's no problem. I'm just showing an example on one file, but it could be any number of files together being processed together with the same agent. Great. That's an example of a very basic extraction. But let's say, for example, that we want to know something like what is the lease type? I'll go ahead and click Create. And then if we wanted to do something, let's say, looking at a little bit more complicated, let's say we want to know what is the lease term in years and months. So I'm just asking for this because that's the format that I care about. We'll go ahead and click Create. While it's running, we can see here that this has now realized that this is a gross lease type. We can see that here. We can see the reasoning, how it got to that. And this is an example of a classification, meaning it was deciding which of these classes it fit. And it suggested and it knew about these classes based on its contextual understanding of the problem, which is to say we're looking at leases and we're creating lease abstracts. And it knows that these are the types, the most common types of leases. If we wanted to edit that to say also look for a new type of lease that you are aware that come in your particular document set. We can manually add that, no problem. We can also manually edit the instructions. That was just done through the edit extraction button here. And we can also do suggest improvement, which means providing natural language instructions again. By the way, if you have any questions during this, use the Q&A widget. Be happy to answer that while we're going. You don't need to wait till the end. We can see here how it got this lease term. And let's do something that shows some actual calculation. So, for example, I want to know what is the base rent, which is a base extraction, but then I want to know the escalation schedule. And I'm going to click preview this time. The reason I'm going to do that is that what Kolena does when you provide these instructions is that it rewrites the prompt, meaning it's optimizing it. We're using our internal understanding of how these models work best. This is the actual instruction that's now going to be given to the AI model underneath. And you can see that it's expanded, it's elaborated on what I asked about. Again, using that contextual understanding. And it's going to do things like include the base amount, frequency of rent increases, the method of calculation, etc. And that looks good. I'll go ahead and click create. We could have adjusted that if we want. And the reason I show that is that this prompt is then we're getting you to the information that you're looking for as quickly and as easily as possible without you having to think about it too much. Now we can see that it's found the initial base rent. It notes that there's free rent, 100% rent abatement for the second month of the lease. And we can see that that's actually from right here, clause 1.5a, free rent, the base rent for the second month of the lease shall be 100% abated. And so now we can see that it's aware of all of this information together. All we had to do was ask it for the base rent and the escalations, and it understands that, has no problem dealing with exceptions or clauses that modify some base assumption. That's all very easily handled. And to showcase some actual mathematical operations, which have historically been challenging for AI models, they're now, what we do behind the scenes is we route to the best model for the task. So if I wanted to know what is the total remaining lease obligation from, I'm just going to choose the arbitrary date, let's say June 3rd, 2025. That is going to have to calculate. It's going to have to do a calculation based on when the lease ends and that arbitrary date that I provided. And it will be able to understand that that calculation is required. And what it's going to do here is it's using that base rent and that escalation schedule and the dates. We can see here that it's understanding the date. It understands that there are different rates for different time periods. It can do calculations for each of those time periods and calculates the total here. So we can follow the full logic. We can see that it's understood, not just that it has to calculate, but that there are different periods within that calculation. It's not a straightforward calculation. And we can do effectively complex operations on top of that. And as we're going, so we're building up, we can extract as much information. We can ask for whatever kind of information that we want. I'm just going to show you an example of one that I filled out more fully prior to this so that I can show you an example here. Let me show the same office lease that I was looking at before. Let's see, where is it? Go ahead and open up, there it is. So this is the same document, but I've just extracted quite a bit more information here. This is the editor view where we're fleshing out the instructions. We only have to do this process one time where I'm saying these are the things that I want to extract. And then forever after, anytime we upload a new document, it'll automatically start extracting these things. You don't have to do this every time you have a new document. That's very key. I want to stress that. It'll do this automatically anytime you put in a new document. This is kind of the example that we used to get these instructions going. And what you'll end up with is this report view. And this can be customized, of course. But here I had it provide a lease summary at the top, which I wanted to have it extract these fields. These are the things that I care about at a glance. And then we can see all of the rest of the information here. In this case, I had it provide this base rent and escalation schedule as a table. I had it look for things like renewal options, things like amendments, a true-false field, whether it was executed. And we can even turn on the reasoning. So if we wanted to actually have in our output explanations of how it got to this information, we can include that here. And then I can download this document in whatever format that I want. I could obviously print it or share it or have this go downstream to whatever tool that I want. So if I want to put it back into a project management system, it's very easy to do. The way that we provide that is through something called connections. A connection includes a source, as many sources as you want, and as many destinations as you want. Just jumping back to this slide, these are the sources, these are the destinations. And what that means is anytime a document appears here, or you can imagine this being a project management system, you can add a source. This is some examples of the types of sources. There's more beyond this, but this is what's shown currently. Anytime a new lease document is dropped in here, it'll be processed and then dropped into the lease abstract. Meaning, anytime, let's say we were to drop this document into that folder that I had, it would then drop this report after just a couple of minutes. You saw how fast it goes. So lease documents are processed in just a few minutes. It would drop that into the output folder. And that's how you get such a dramatic time savings, is that it's a hands-off process almost, where now you just say, okay, plug in to my, integrate with where my data lives. Anytime data is there, run it through the agent and drop the report into the destination. And so all you have to do is drop in, wait a couple of minutes, and then you have your output. And you can do whatever you want with that output, whatever downstream tasks that you have. And this creates that automation, very powerful, very huge time savings, very big cost savings. There are, of course, you can handle any kind of document. I wanted to just stress that, so this view is, each of these rows is a different document that I've uploaded to this agent. And it can handle a huge variety, and it'll do this automatically. So whenever you drop something in, it'll start processing it. We could download all of this together. So if you wanted for example, a CSV or an Excel file of all of this processed together, then you can get that or have that output automatically as well. Great. I'm going to jump over and show a very quick rent roll example. So let's say, for example, we want to do some extractions on rent rolls. So I'm just going to, let's see. Just going to say process rent rolls. It'll do the same thing where Kolena will rewrite this. This could obviously be as nuanced as you want, but here we can see that it's kind of understood what I'm looking for here. We're going to extract and analyze tenant unit and payment information from rent roll documents. In this case, I'm going to show you an example of a spreadsheet. So you can also, of course, do spreadsheets. We support all of these file types, quite a lot of different file types, and these can all be combined. I'll go ahead and click submit. Let me show you just what this looks like here. This is the file. We can see that we've got, this is a commercial real estate property for this. This is a fictional address here in San Francisco where I'm broadcasting from right now. We can see that for each row, we have a unit along with monthly rental rates, the lease type, square footage, quite a lot of additional information here. Let's see, I'm not sure why it's not showing there. I can show it in the, actually, let me show you. It's over in this other folder here. Let's see here. There we go. So things like lease start, lease expiration, lease term, annual escalation percentage, monthly CAM, monthly parking, et cetera, et cetera. And this is, a document that somebody would have to go through manually, of course, to get that thing processed. But what we can do is we can do things like extract tenant details. And I'll go ahead and click preview to show you that it's going to understand what we're talking about here, what I'm looking for this rent roll. So now automatically it understands we're going to extract a table with tenant details, including tenant name, lease type, business notes, lease start date, et cetera, et cetera. This is fantastic. That's what I want. I'm going to click create. And just like that, we're going to automatically get some tenant details extracted. If we wanted to know things like which tenants are below market rate, let's say by 15% or more. We can do things like what this will do is give us automatically a list. So anytime we drop in a rent roll, we'll get a list of these below market rate tenants. And we can also do things like create an executive summary of the rent roll, just if we wanted to understand at a glance what we were looking at without having to look line by line and try and piece things together, particularly if this is a very long rent roll document. That would take quite some time. So here we can already see which ones are the below market rate tenants. We can see what percentage they're at. We could adjust this however we like. These will take just a few seconds more, but I'm just going to show you an example of this one completed. So here, what I've got is an executive summary of this document, same document. We have kind of a summary up at the top here, but then we also extracted all of the tenant details. We are able to look at which ones are expiring. So these are the ones that I asked it which ones are expiring, which ones have rent concessions. I asked it to calculate monthly rent per square foot. And the idea is that you can create whatever kind of output that you're looking for. You can even provide an example file and say, I want you to create a output that looks like this. So if you're already working towards something, some output that you like, or that is part of your process, you can say, provide an output that looks like this, and the agent can handle that, no problem. And so what I'm trying to show here is, and I've just showed you creating these agents in just a few minutes. This is really the whole process. You you build in these instructions once, and then anytime you drop in a new document, you get those processed outputs in exactly the customized format that you want, that you prefer. It's saving a ton of manual review time. And these systems, we provide these quality checks built in to help you ensure that what you're getting is trustworthy. That's often a concern, a very valid concern. And understanding that, we've built in, we've using our knowledge of quality, we have a history of evaluating and creating high quality AI systems for our customers. We built that in so that you don't have to be worried about it and have to evaluate all of this for yourself. So I'm going to just jump back quickly to a slide to illustrate that. What I mean is we are doing things like automatic prompt optimization, where we're rewriting what you're looking for or what you're asking for to help you interface with the AI without having to think about it. We provide citations to where the information was retrieved from. We provide reasoning so that you can follow the logic that was used, and then you can adjust the instructions to have it follow different logic if there's anything that you want to do differently. You can just click the suggest improvement buttons to provide your feedback without having to do any kind of manual editing of the code or any rules specifically. And then we provide these confidence quality checks, meaning how much do we, based on our systemic knowledge, think that this knowledge, this result is trustworthy. And anything below high just means take a closer look. This is something that is worth taking a second look at. The majority of the time, the confidence will come out high, because as long as you have that actual information there, then these systems are very good at pulling that out and putting that together for you. When the confidence is lower, that just means maybe the information wasn't there. And this is kind of what's happening behind the scenes. What makes this so magical is that you just drop in some structured and unstructured data. It goes to our task planner. We decide which system is the best solution. We are running quality checks at every stage. So we're assessing how well we made that decision based on the overall context. And we incorporate this feedback engine. And the idea is that at every stage, we are making sure that what's happening is the correct result. And there's a lot of complexity here, but this diagram is just to illustrate that we're not just throwing this to an LLM behind the scenes. There's actually quite a bit of additional checking and quality assurance on top of it. That means that when you are deploying the system for your own process, you can trust it to run on its own and not have to worry about going in and managing it. So it's really just this initial process of setting things up, and then you're ready to go. We only went through a couple of use cases here, but there are a lot of other use cases, especially a lot of other real estate use cases, things like creating investment memos or processing really any kind of document. I want to stress that these agents are great at any document workflow. Lots of back office tasks, really a huge variety. So check out kolena.com/use cases. We dropped a link in the chat if you want to chat with us about your specific use case. We'll be happy to talk to you, evaluate whether what you want to automate can be done through the solution and talk about how you might do that. And we will, of course, there are other, I've done some other webinars on real estate workflow automation recently. You can check out Kolena on YouTube, or of course, go to our website, kolena.com. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you all very much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.